and record.
What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. I am Love Coach Scott Thomas, and I'm your host for the show. Welcome to the Awakening World, our Wednesday night edition, and a really important and fascinating topic. Tonight, we have 4 amazing beings coming to us who are all really leaders in the field of plant medicine and or microdosing. We're going to learn, we're going to meet, all 4 of them are bright luminaries. I'm looking forward to learning from them. It's something I am not very knowledgeable about. So it's going to be an important show. I want to acknowledge all of our friends that are in the Zoom room, a lot of our regulars. Let us know where you are geographically. It's always fun to see where people are from all over the world. And then I also want to welcome people who are watching on all of our different broadcast partners. A big thank you to John and Summer Raymer, who run the Sign Network, that's SINE, and that's how we get out to over 100 Facebook groups and pages. So if you're watching us that way, welcome. Also, thank you to Alan Steinfeld and his YouTube channel, and our newest broadcast partner, the Conscious Awakening Network. Now, if you're wanting to come on into our Zoom room, it's really easy to do that. Actually, just go to globalpeacetribe.com. Go to globalpeacetribe.com, and just like the banner that's behind me. And when you go there, you'll be able to learn all about who we are. And there's Marianne Williamson. We were just talking about her at the when we were backstage getting ready to do the show. And what you can do is you can watch us on our YouTube channel, but what we really want you to do is register. And you can register by going to our registration page, which is right here, register for the new season. And that takes you to the registration page, and you'll see all the different shows that we're doing. We do 3 or 4 shows every week with amazing guests. And some of them are famous, and some of them are what I like to call the next generation of New Thought leaders. And really tonight, you're going to meet several very important New Thought leaders that are next generation. And this is what we're doing tonight, awakening through plant medicine and microdosing. And Saturday night, one of our favorite luminaries, Larissa Stowe, is back, and she and her Shakti Love Warriors and her whole Weevolution group have developed 6 agreements for global awakening. And it's powerful, and we're going to be talking about that. And we have a lot of wonderful music on Saturday night, as always, because Saturday night we mix music with inspirational messages and thoughts. And then Sunday, we're doing something different. It's going to be a global Peace Tribe conversation. So make sure you join us live in the Zoom room to come on in and share your services, share what you want us to know about you. And we're going to be talking about our upcoming retreats, events, and shows. So it's going to be a 2-hour conversation with you, our Global Peace Tribe. So that's what we've got for this week. So for those of you that have not already registered, come join us. You'll get the links to all of our shows for the next 3 months. One of the great joys of the Global Peace Tribe is we have amazing co-hosts. And every Wednesday night, my co-host, our co-host, is Trish Wright. Hi, Trish.
God, I love you too. You're just so sweet. I love hosting with you. And I love when you all come in and share your questions, and when you all engage. I mean, we have an opportunity to actually ask questions and engage with our amazing, amazing guests. So take this opportunity, ask your questions, and I'm freaking crazy stoked about talking about microdosing.
Yeah, I'm eager to hear. We've got people from Victoria Island, British Columbia, Las Vegas, Michigan, Santa Barbara, Santa Rosa, Colorado, New Jersey, Sacramento, Ecuador, North Carolina, all throughout California. So welcome, Anne, Trish.
And
you're giving me the finger.
And Mercury Direct.
Yes. So you know what's funny? Mercury Direct, and today I had the worst technology problems I've had in months. I had anyway, okay. I want to brief.
Scott, you should have seen the course. It was crazy last night.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe here's one last thing. Okay, let's take a look briefly at our guests. Now, we're going to get to know all of them very much. This is going to be a longer show. It's going to be a 2-hour show because there's so much to share. But Ia Star, you've seen her on the show before, but not for a while. And you've always seen Ia Star singing. She's an amazing musical artist with her partner, Matthias. But today we get to learn about a whole other side of Ia Star. So welcome with us, Ia Star. And this is a new friend, Jeannie Fontana. Now, it may look like she's bouncing back and forth, and it's either because she's excited, but it's more likely because she's pedaling, because she likes to pedal while she's on her computer. But she is got a lot of wisdom about the topic. She came referred to us by Jennifer Hill, one of our favorite co-hosts. But she's also putting together some very important legislation that we're going to talk about. And it didn't take long for Piper Dellums to come back. You saw her on Sunday again as a musical in our musical sound healing, but she's an incredible filmmaker, visual artist, but she also is dedicated in a very beautiful way. And Trish, you're gonna love Piper and what she's doing. She's doing such incredibly important work. And she mentioned how today's topic is very relevant to the work that she does with a lot of the disadvantaged. So we immediately invited Piper back. And then Elizabeth, although I'm actually introducing you last, this show began with you. When you were referred to me very highly by a couple of different people. You've got to have Elizabeth Bast on the show. So I just know I had to have you on the show. I asked you what your topic was. Here it is. And this is the show we built around. So in the beginning, there was Elizabeth, and it was good. But the beginning of every show here always starts with Omoshar, our house musical artist who gets things going with his music. And you've got the background of all time there, buddy.
Well, I thought it was topical, so here we are. And this is a topic dear to my heart because there is a lot of wisdom in plants, and I won't say anything about it because we have some beautiful luminaries with us to teach us about it. I'm going to play a song called Dark Night, but it's not dark as in the darkness. Night is spelled with a K, so it's the shining light of the Divine Mother and Divine Father within you just coming out and being in the world. And there's one, hang on, someone's need to be let in. There's one line in it. It says, the giants awake now. What it's referring to is divine consciousness. The giant is divine consciousness that's awakening within us through these modalities and other modalities that we all choose to do. So without further ado, let's go there, shall we? How about that?
Big wow on that one. That's amazing. That's incredible. Actually, I like that one the best. That's amazing.
Yeah. I made it today. Ready? What's this feeling deep inside of me? New adventure, a whole new journey now that I see, and my head's above the water. I am you, I am life, I am everything I dreamed of. Whoa. Look what's happening. The giant's awake now. His eyes are open, seeing into the dark of the night. I see glory shining through me. I am here, come to me. It's an open invitation. Whoa. What's that over there calling to me? Mystery beckoning. Could it be destiny? It's my life, it's my waking dream creation. I am clear, I am free, I am joy in incarnation. Whoa, la-dum-da, la-la-la-la, la.
perfect. Let's go to gallery view for a quick twinkle. Here,
Quick
it's
twinkle,
going to be a
eh?
very twinkly show, I think, tonight.
I
So,
think so. Hopefully, everybody received their microdose.
yeah, you gave us a microdose just now through your music. I love it.
There it is.
Beautiful. Hey, everybody, a reminder that we can support our beautiful brother, Omashar, who comes to every show, provides so much, gives us microdoses and sometimes not so microdosages of his beautiful music medicine. And we can support him by going to omashar.bandcamp.com. omashar.bandcamp.com. That's where his albums are. So let's always support our brother. And thank you so much, Omashar, for all that you provide us.
My pleasure.
Now, this is interesting. It's not letting me stop the screen share.
Maybe it's just slow.
There we go.
Good.
See that even Zoom was supporting you by keeping it on your albums faster. It's like, no, Scott, slow down. We know you're going to get to the guests.
Me and Mr. Zoom, we go way back, at least 2 years.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, my friend. Well, since everything started with Elizabeth, I'm going to bring her up first. This is Elizabeth Bast, and she has quite a background in this field. She is a trained iboga provider. She's the co-founder of the Soul Centro Iboga Retreats. She's the author of an award-winning memoir called Heart Medicine, a true love story, one couple's quest for the sacred iboga medicine and the cure for addiction. I really want to hear about that book. She's a recipient of a Women of Psychedelic Renaissance grant from the psychedelic feminist nonprofit organization Cosmic Sister. She studied at the New College of San Francisco, and well, I could go on and on. You have quite a history, but I think let's start with the memoir, because it sounds like that was your journey that's led you to where we are. So please tell us a little bit about your journey.
Thank you so much, Scott. And thank you, Omashar, for that exquisite, uplifting sonic medicine. Thank you.
My pleasure.
A real treat. Yes, thank you, Scott. It's so beautiful to be here I love seeing the souls out there, that Eleanor dancing and just beautiful faces. Yes, the memoir is really a heart surgery on paper, chronicling our journey, our journey of healing. My now husband, whose artwork is behind me, this is medicine-inspired artwork. We were brought to the medicine. Initially, what catalyzed it was he had a very, very serious polysubstance relapse. He was sober when I met him, and it descended into shooting heroin, and it was deadly. And he became someone I couldn't recognize. And there was guidance. There was very clear guidance. I, in retrospect, was connected to his ancestors. He was brought home to his ancestral medicine from Africa. It's very powerful medicine that can potentially detox someone from opioids and other things under the right conditions. And his ancestors were whispering, and there was just magical guidance from nature and ancestors. And we found our way to Costa Rica with an indigenous provider who worked with a doctor. And that was a decade ago about. And since then, he has become an ordained healer within the tradition. And we work very closely with our beautiful indigenous elders in full collaboration and blessing with everything that we are doing. And very much in reciprocity of the land here. But essentially, and there's a lot more in the story. It was a rough ride. And it's an offering to everyone who has loved someone who has suffered from addiction. And it is just as raw and truthful and strange as medicine work itself. Just all the things that I thought were too strange to tell anybody. are in that book. And now, well, after that first journey, when I could barely recognize him, suddenly, after one night, I could see his soul again, looking at me, that wasn't buried under a mountain of pollution anymore. And he looked over the land and he said, I love my life. I never want to disrespect myself again. And since then, we've been to Africa many times. He takes people every year in the summer and in service and continuing study with our elders there. And we're so, so grateful to be initiates of the Bwiti tradition. They have really an ancient system of psychology and mental health support that is profound.
You froze for a moment.
Oh, I did.
The last thing we heard was you were talking about they have a long history of support.
Yes, it's really ancient psychology studies, ancient, and they have a deep, intimate understanding of the human being mind, not only its pitfalls, but its tremendous superpower, its tremendous gifts of creativity. Some people think that ibogaine, which is a single alkaloid that's used in some clinics outside of the United States, that it's just a drug detox medicine, and that's not so. That's the scratching of the surface. It's really a medicine of soul healing and visionary creativity and coming into being a hunter of our own destiny. So I'm so grateful every day. And we have a child now who's almost 2. He'll be 2. So it's all happening, and I'm just grateful to be here and share more.
I was one of those people. I thought ibogaine was just for drug addiction because I had heard about that first. And then, as I mentioned, my good friend Jonathan Robinson, spoke very highly of it. And that's when it began to, it's more than that. But
so much.
I think a lot of people assume that. There's so much to learn and to hear. But, I think I'll go to Piper next. I'm going to add her. And then because Piper, in hearing Elizabeth's story of how it transformed her life and especially got her husband off of such a difficult thing, I think is a good transition to you and the work that you're doing.
Yes, Elizabeth, first of all, thank you for that, for your vulnerability. It's very beautiful to allow yourself to be so transparent, so open, which is part of what the medicine does, this breaking open of your heart, of your soul, of your consciousness, this wisdom. And I'm really grateful that you are being used with such grace and such divinity to heal others and to bring forth, and that you carried the torch of love through that fire season with your husband. And what a blessing this is for the seed, your daughter, that is a remnant of the courage of you as Pachamama, as Gaia, as the strength of woman. You're just beautiful. So it really touched me, the fact that you're connected to the mother through the mother's medicine, which is your ancient birthright. That connectivity has been with you from the beginning of all things, and that you were able to be a conduit to that for the next generation and the generation of your love. I think we were all really touched by that. What really touched me, and thank you, Scott, the work that I do with women, domestic violence and human trafficking, trauma, addiction, it didn't start just because I went to Berkeley, went to NYU, got degrees and made this decision. It was because I was molded in the fire seasons of my own experiences. I, of course, as Scott knows, I was the daughter of a US congressman, so I do understand Marianne Williamson. My father was elected to Congress when I was 4, so the body politic, Washington, D.C. was my entire existence. What I learned from being a therapist, from being a survivor, and from being in the center of politics, from here to Africa, to Israel, American Samoa, and around the world, I learned how to maneuver and walk through academics, walk through psychiatry, walk through body politic, all of the things that we think are going to shift and change the world. And then when we are chosen, we're pulled, we're broken open, we're broken down, and we ourselves are called into the medicine. For me, it was an indigenous calling. As an Afro-Indigenous woman, I knew that I was being called by my ancestors from Africa to my Native American ancestors. And I was called in a place where I thought that the breaking the holes that were in my soul were merely holes or that were going to diminish me, and yet they were the holes that were necessary for all of the truth and the higher consciousness and the evolution of self to push through. What I recognized is, even if we ran to Congress, even if we signed bills, if we rallied, if we protested, the reality is that plant medicine, because it permits the body to unfold its innate intelligence, it's a 5 million year old ancient wisdom for the soul and the body. There was this decriminalization is what we were fighting for, decriminalize this natural essence, the womb of the mother, because it is actually the antidote to all that we were doing in body politic. It's the antidote to war. It's the antidote to hatred, to racism, to all of these extremities, because it brings us to the core truth, higher consciousness of love. Once we are able to change our thoughts about who and what we are as this collective body breath of God, all of those other things fall away. And that, I think, is why the world is in such fear, why they want to call it a drug and not allow it to be embraced as what it is, a gift from God to bring us all back into the center of love. Because once that occurs, this war that they call the war on drugs, which is actually a war on our humanity, it's a war on Mother Earth, it's a war on women, it's a war on evolution, it's a war on global divinity, it's a war on everything that we hold sacred. It's a war on God. And so we are here to utilize the medicine, introduce the medicine as what it is, the particle back to the center of love. So.
Boom, boom. Well, that again is a perfect segue to another guest that we have with us, Jeannie and her bicycle. I haven't memorized the word for what it is. She is actively working on legislation. What you said is a perfect segue into Jeannie Fontana. And I'll give just a brief background on Jeannie. She also has quite a history, but a few highlights are that she was the CEO of the 2024 TREAT Initiative, a $5 billion funding agency for the advancement of the psychedelic ecosystem. She is, as a self-described frontier surfer, riding the wave of the edge of knowledges and unknown. She has a long history in both personally in treatment, therapeutics, healthcare policies, and she's also been a big part of the California Institute for Regenerative Medicine. And she's a former competitive athlete, which we can kind of understand, and we see her still exercising. She told me yesterday we spoke, she does as many as 30 or 40 miles a day while on computer. More. I guess you were at 30 miles when we spoke yesterday. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Well, thank you,
you're an
everybody.
inspiration.
First
You're
of
an
all, I believe
inspiration.
sitting is the new smoking, and that we spend so much time in our new lives sitting. So I say, well, how can we get around that and keep on moving? Because I believe part of well-being is keeping your body fit and moving.
Yeah.
So I lost sight of you guys.
We're here. We still see you.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you for including me. And wow, what a wonderful tribe to participate in, and so impressive. And the music resonated with me immensely, as well as following the two introductions from the other interviewees here. It's impressive. I wanted to share with you what spoke with me so much about the music, as I come from a long line of healers in my family. But I chose early in the 70s to take the medical route. And what I saw in the 40 years from when I started medicine to when I ended medicine was this major transformation from the touching and healing and caring of patients. I could spend 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 hours with my patients, and I did. I would sit by their bedside and learn about addiction and learn about homosexuality and HIV and AIDS and learn about all these things. And I could take the time to touch the person's soul and understand their life circumstances that have led them to these things, so I could assist them in healing themselves. But by the time I finished, and I've gone off into drug discovery and other things, was now for my physician friends, if you get 15 minutes with your doctor, of which they have to fill out all these forms, and there's this disconnect between the heart and connection of a human being with a patient. And what I started out with was a more holistic approach to healing. I didn't even need to lay hands on my patients because the diagnosis was made through scanning and lab results, and I didn't have to. And I thought, something's very wrong here. I had left this space and I went into drug discovery. My mother had ALS, Lou disease, and I quickly learned about policy change and developing clinics. And then the stem cell initiative came and I got involved with that. And I'm proud to say it was a citizen-driven ballot initiative in California in response to George Bush's moratorium in 2002. And the citizens of California approved a $3 billion funding agency. It was the largest in the world to expedite bench to bedside. And I was a founding board member of that institution. And wow, what an honor. And we did so well that in 2020, we went back to the voters in California. They approved an additional $5.5 billion. So I came into the psychedelic space observing the clinical trials actually for the vets, because I had worked in the VA, and looking at PTSD and that we don't have therapeutics to help these patients and they're suffering. I mean, they're suffering. It's like, wow. And then you see these positive results, like 67% are no longer qualifying for PTSD. And so I'm looking at what is happening here. So long and short of it, and I'll tell you more later, but decided to use the roadmap of the successful stem cell initiative and apply it to mental health and well-being, for starting off with the state of California, looking at psychedelic assisted therapy, to create a funding agency, to do the clinical trials, to see safety and efficacy, to train therapists, to get access to care so it's available to every person, not just the rich. Research, and it goes on and on. So I'm happy to tell you more, but I'll stop there.
Beautiful. Thank you so much again for the work that you're doing. And, when we did our sound check with you at the start before going on, it was okay, but you're crackly. So
okay. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, there's anything you can do to. Oh, sure. Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, no, it comes and goes. I think it's either the headphones or your microphone.
I turned up the volume because before when it was too loud hearing. So
yeah, no, this sounds like you're speaking through water. Sometimes when you sit back, it gets clearer.
Maybe I should switch.
Possibly.
Locations. Yeah.
Or at least microphones.
When next time I bring you up, we'll do a little check. It seems like when you're back, it's better than when you're up front.
How's that?
Much better.
Okay. I'm sorry. Did you hear what I said? I hope.
We did.
Yeah, we did, but we had to swim. But if you stayed back like that, that seems to be better.
Okay. Thank you. Apologize for that inconvenience.
Sure. And it's good to have you with us. Eostar, I'm bringing up Eostar. We had already kind of scheduled the show, and I was going to keep it to 3 presenters, but then I discovered that Eostar, who's a longtime friend and someone I'm a big fan of, is really knowledgeable about microdosing. And I'm curious about microdosing. I should say I really haven't done plant medicine for a few years. I have a long history going way back of psychedelics. Haven't done plant medicine for a while, haven't done any drugs, haven't done anything actually in many years. But I am curious about microdosing. So it's like, oh, well, this is a good way to find out about microdosing. I'll have her on the show. And I was really happy, Star, when you agreed, because it is an important part of this, and it is an important option for people. So here she is. Again, as I said before, I know her as this incredible talent. But she also is a psychedelic integration and preparation coach and a psychedelic microdosing coach, as well as a certified breathwork facilitator. I guess it's your day job. Just like I've got my day job of love coaching, this is your day job. So tell us about your day job and tell us about microdosing.
Hi, Scott. Thank you for including me in here. Yeah. Yes, I guess I can't say that I have a day job. Some of the things I do are more at night.
That's true.
As it goes with plant medicines. But yeah, I came into the world of plant medicines through music because I am a sacred devotional musician, which is how maybe some of your audience knows me, as we've played on your show before. And I guess 13 years ago, somebody heard my music at a gathering and they thought, oh, that music is going to be perfect at my ayahuasca ceremony, and invited me to come and receive the medicine and then play music for the following night ceremony. So that's how I got introduced to this world. And because I am a psychedelic, no, not psychedelic, but I was going to say I am a spiritual seeker. I'm always interested in finding new ways, new approaches to the truth. And you know, in my life, I've done so much. I've trained to be a yoga teacher. I studied mantra. I trained in different healing modalities, and I'm always just looking for new ways to basically raise the vibrational frequency, both for myself and everyone else. As we know, nobody can really get enlightened without everyone else also getting enlightened, because we are one. At least that's one philosophy. So yeah, I'm always looking for how can I raise my own vibrational frequency, and how can I help others raise their vibrational frequency? How can we all awaken together, like the awakening world? And so as of late, the last 2 years or so, I've come across microdosing, and I just dove into it because I already have been very familiar with sacred plant medicines. I tried many different kinds. I've been working in the field, basically in the field of ceremonial work, and so I then came across this new notion of microdosing. So yeah, I just dove into it, and then I also started leading a Zoom call for people who want to have support as they are microdosing. So through that, I'm also learning a lot, because I hear other people's experiences. And of course, I'm microdosing, and I'm microdosing with different types of plant medicines, and comparing them, and just always monitoring myself and journaling. And I can tell you, it really works. And I'm just really excited to to even know more about microdosing, and to be able to offer this to people.
Love it.
Trish, go ahead, Trish.
I want to tie it all in a little bit, because I think this is fantastic. Scott, you picked all of the things that you may not know about me. I used to work at three Ibogaine centers in Mexico, and was an activities director there for many years, and was gifted the opportunity to take a spiritual dose. More on that later. It's just a really fascinating experience to be a spiritual traveler in a very detoxifying nature, when other people are having very different experiences. And I love that we're bringing in breath work as well, because holotropic breath work, specifically Stanislav Grof is a Czech psychologist, a Union psychologist, right, who studied with LSD specifically. And then when it became illegal, he and his wife at the time, I can't remember her name, but developed this type of breath work, which is not exactly his, but hundreds of years old, that helps you access altered states of consciousness. And what's really beautiful and fascinating about altered states of consciousness is that it really gives you an opportunity to touch into the greater self, we'll say, or the the thing that humans can't conceptualize that's greater than this, right? So some people call it God. Some people call it the greater being. And so one of the things that you say, Scott, and I'm going to butcher your perfect line, is that our one of the things about self-love, or one of the things about how we connect and have a better life, is to connect to God. And this is one of those dopamine, serotonin ways to connect to God. So I'm curious about, I don't think that there's such a thing as microdosing iboga, but I'm curious, do people do that?
I think that, so I can answer with a yes. And I think that maybe Elizabeth Best would be more the person to answer this, because I actually heard through a friend about what Elizabeth thinks about this. So yes. And I would like to hear from you if that was true. I'm sure it was true what I heard, but I'd like to hear it from your mouth.
Iboga is African root bark that is used by the Woody tribe as a rites of passage.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
The Bwiti is not a tribe. There's a lot of tribes. It's a tradition and there's many branches of traditions within there, and many different tribes. And they have a rite of passage that may or may not have medicine. It's utilized in a spiritual initiation. Are you still there?
Thank you for the correction. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, it's also utilized in many different kinds of ceremonies, not just initiation, but community ceremonies, healing ceremonies, welcome ceremonies. There's a lot of different, even hunting in the jungle. That's a traditional use of microdosing, is to take a little bit, go into the jungle, and it gives, this medicine often has a very masculine spirit. It's said by the Bwiti it's dual, it's actually gender fluid. Sometimes it's father and sometimes it's mother in different ways. But for me, it shows up in more masculine, and it's a stimulant to the central nervous system, and it's for physical endurance, but also mental endurance, and very much like spiritual focus. So being focused about where are we going and why are we going there, and where are we going to be in 30 years if we keep going there in that direction. But with regards to the microdosing, I'm so curious, the gossip, but yes, so I definitely have a very strong perspective. Microdosing is actually a very important traditional way for providers to study the medicine, and very important to microdose when we're helping people to channel the medicine, which is very much an art of showing up fully, but getting out of the way. So we can really hear, not auditorily, but to sense very specific messages from the medicine. Now, what I would say about microdosing, there's a few considerations. One is medical. And on this side of the world, we're dealing with a laundry list of contraindicated common medications, supplements, and some people may not know that they have a slight contraindicated heart issue. Like, we get people, some of our guests that are screened, and we ask them to get very specific medical tests and EKG. And it's incredible how many people don't know that they have a little heart thing going on. And often it's possible to heal that. That sometimes there can be something going on with the blood pressure also, or just a very subtle thing in the heart. Someone's not muted. It's a bit loud. So a lot of people show up with a medical condition that they didn't realize could be very problematic, even on low doses of iboga. We do get that. We're very careful with screening people. And we see on this side of the world tons of drug histories and psychiatric considerations that they don't see in Africa. So it's very important to have that screening, even for microdosing. And when people microdose, the noribogaine is a metabolite that can add up in the system over time and then become problematic. So the medical screening is really important, and also the framework and like understanding how iboga works. That's a whole, we'll see if we have time to get into that, but it can actually be, it's dangerous psychologically without a really strong framework. And not to say there's people who can't do it. I'm sure that there are, but I have so much respect for the indigenous Misoko Bwiti framework and how they hold the medicine and how they understand the medicine and their intimacy. And it's worth bothering to learn about that framework from them. And last but not least, there's sustainability issues. So where is the iboga medicine coming from? It's out on the dark web, and there is a correlation between elephant poachers and iboga, because elephants eat iboga, and they actually have an important role in increasing the alkaloid content, because they will come and pull it and not pull it all out, and it increases the medicine in the plant. And so poachers of elephants will follow their trails and be picking up the iboga because they can sell that. And we don't want that medicine. We don't want to support that. And the medicine is just as sensitive to how the medicine is harvested. That matters. How is the medicine taken from the ground? Is it sustainable? Is it a sustainable harvest? The medicine that we serve is sustainably and ceremonially harvested in a very sacred way from mature wild plants. So it's a very big difference. And people can have, there's a vast range of sensitivity to the medicine. So a little spoonful could level somebody for 2 days easily if they don't know what they're in for. And there's ataxia, there's trembling of the limbs, there's the hardest purging of any medicine, and people could very easily pass out if they get up too quickly from a blood pressure shift. People can find themselves in deep waters, and we do have people reach out. I think the best way to come into a microdosing relationship is to start by coming to a qualified provider who can walk you through the medical screening, who you can be with in a safe space as you experience your first journey, and then go to Africa. Go to Africa, connect to the tradition, connect to the elders. It's worth waiting for. It's worth planning for. And that's a good way to come into that relationship and to have a deeper understanding of all the contraindications. Many herbs, many supplements are contraindicated, many natural plant medicines. So we have to be very careful. That's all I'll say for now. Yeah.
And in the clinics that I worked at, they specifically would give microdoses of iboga to the people who had gone through the treatments, going through for not just opiates, but also alcohol and depression.
Yeah, and I bet they're doing that with some instructions.
Well, definitely.
Hopefully.
Whole system that's to not only like physically but psychologically protect them. I'm curious about, because of these sustainability challenges, that there are other psychedelics or other places of microdoses that can be incredibly helpful.
Yes, and sustainable. Mushrooms, wachuma, like there's so many that are just our creator puts in our backyard, literally.
My personal favorite, I know this is not a natural version, but I really like LSD. It works with my brain. I like a very, very tiny dose.
Morning Glory. Morning Glory is a plant analog, very close.
There are, is it correct? I think that there's up to 10. I'm going to check that number in a minute, but there's almost up to 10 cities and states in the US that have decriminalized the use of psychedelic mushrooms. So how do very small amounts have an effect? Let's talk about that.
So I just want to say thank you so much, Elizabeth. And that's what I heard through the grapevine, that you suggested that the people who microdose, who would want to microdose with ibogaine, that they really connect with the tradition. They go through the actual heroic dose or the actual large dose ceremonial experience with iboga, and then maybe under supervision or with the help of a qualified coach do it. This is what I heard. And then I also, as I'm researching online all the time, I came across this young person who got off of alcohol using different plant medicines, and he talks about it on YouTube. And one of the things that he used, and I got interested in this, but then I kind of dropped the idea, but he used specifically the Vokanga root or Vokanga bark, which contains compounds similar to ibogaine.
It does contain ibogaine, and it's sustainable.
And it's sustainable. So I'm curious, what do you think about that? How, if somebody wanted to microdose with Wakanga root, would you agree with that, or how would you feel about that?
Potentially. Always I look at what is the source, what is the intention, and I'm not an expert in that plant. I would suggest to research the contraindications, because something like St. John's wort, passion flower, mucuna pruriens, like these very common popular herbal supplements can be highly contraindicated if it's affecting the serotonin. So to look into the contraindications, and there's actually there is a consultant, Benjamin Malcolm, who is a psychopharmacologist that specializes in psychedelic medicine. His website is spiritpharmacist.com. I'll type it in the chat. And he does consultations for people to see what medications they're on, if it'll gel with the psychedelic that they want. So it's worth, paying for consultation.
Thank you. And really, it's important to point out to people that, we jumped into talking about microdosing with iboga, but there are so many other psychedelics that people can microdose with, and some of them are easier to access. Some of them have less contraindications. So, it's not necessary to start with iboga.
No.
I'm a big fan of ayahuasca. I would say almost the same as what you said, Elizabeth, about iboga. Yes, there are a lot of contraindications. It's not easy to access it. One should really connect with the tradition. One should really have a full-on ayahuasca ceremony before getting into this relationship, which is microdosing is a relationship that you develop with the plant spirit or with the molecule, and so yes, I would say that if somebody wants to get into microdosing, they should look into microdosing with psilocybin mushrooms, perhaps, or LSD, depending on what they have access to. These are, especially here in California, it's not that hard to come by such substances. And Wachuma is another. It's an interesting one because it's also traditional, has a big history in the Andes Mountains, and I don't know how the Wachuma shamans would feel about it, but fact is that it grows in the United States quite easily. And it's just a wonderful, energizing, stimulating plant to microdose with.
It's beautiful, beautiful. And no matter the plant that we're talking about, like there's definitely, and I'd love to share about this because I also have experience in microdosing psilocybin and Wachuma and coca as well. And there is principles that are universal no matter the medicine. And Wachuma grows in our backyard. You know, if something is growing in our backyard, we have an opportunity. You said is a relationship, that it's actually not a substance we're taking, but a spirit that we are coming into relationship with, and that we want to also give back with our attention, with our creativity. You know, like there's a lot of ways to give back, even being kind and loving. You know, it's a way to honor the medicine that we receive. And so I look forward to talking about some of those things, and also the benefits of some of these. So thank you, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I love this conversation. So yeah, I mean, don't go, you don't need to go all the way to some very difficult substance to get that holds a lot of deeply traditional practices. And I love that you brought up, Elizabeth, that there's a certain respect that we hold with all of these medicines, regardless of what it did naturally or in. And I would love to talk a little bit more about how psychedelics can change the brain, and also how, so there was part of the conversation a little bit earlier about how when we're disconnected from our spirit, when we're disconnected from the connection to self, one of the things that people talk about in psychedelics, if you have taken them, is that I feel connected to everything, right? Anyone else have this? And one of the things that when we get to touch these traditional medicines is that we feel the connection to self, God, and other, and how it's a really great tool, not only for activism and feeling connected to self, but also feeling really deeply connected to caring for others. So I'd love to just talk a little bit about how it affects the brain, how the psychedelic, how like a little dose can be impactful, that you don't have to do a heroic dose. You know, some people are very afraid of the heroic dose because it might, you know, send you into a whole, like a reality changing thing that maybe people want to actually be able to stay in this reality and make the changes, especially in PTSD research, especially in, there's, you know, lots of things. If you're not connected, I'm going to drop in some Beckley Foundation research stuff. I did a study with them a while ago. There's also CIIS in the city that has a lot of information there. So I'll drop in some things, but continue to listen along. Anybody who wants to tackle that piece, maybe we hear some from someone that we haven't heard from before.
I haven't heard from Piper.
I was taking in a lot of what was being said. I work predominantly with psilocybin. I grow on 10 different strains of psilocybin, and there's a different language to the medicine for me. I'm a therapist, but I'm also a shaman. If people have an understanding of what that is, but there is a different honor and an ancestral, we call in our ancestors. We listen to the plant medicine, we listen to the root, we listen to the earth mother, and we listen to our ancestors. So I am Congolese and Ethiopian, one half, and Blackfoot and Sac and Fox. So I hear very differently my relationship to it. We don't say a relationship to the plant, we say the relationship to our ancestors. So I do not recommend microdosing with anyone that does not have a connection and an intuitive listening from the mother, from the plant. People have to understand and discern the calling, as opposed to in this society, people step into escapism and call it spiritualism. Our plants are our oldest teachers, more wise than human intellect. And before you are able to open yourself up to allow healing at the root cause of your ailment. There are root causes of ailments in a restricted society. And they have been restricted predominantly from those that were indoctrinated with things like religion, with things like hatred. For a lot of our indigenous people, this was a natural part and process of everyday experience, expression, and connectivity. Our ancestors would eat and chew the medicine and even nurse their babies to allow there to be a breakaway, a zero block, a zero constriction, a zero dysfunction, a zero distortion between the other dimension outside of the physical embodiment, which is the dimension that connects you to the higher consciousness of interconnectivity to the spirit, so that you can have an understanding, a listening, an acknowledgement, and a connection to the wind, to the ocean, to the river, to the rock, to the transition of season, to the mountain people, to the two-legged, to the winged, to the four-legged. It's a very different expression and connection than some of what I'm hearing. I have not yet stepped into, I do not connect the Iboga medicine. Those ancestors and those healing divinities are very specifically working with detoxing the body from extraordinary outside, not just chemicals, but outside toxicity of the mind that has led to addictions and other aspects. That is not a plant that we would recommend as an indigenous people to someone that is attempting to just access the unconscious. It's like giving when people have cancer and they go through this very toxic poison. I don't know why this is leaving my head, considering I just walked through this, but you're not going to give an antibiotic the same way that you're going to give, another form of extreme. So this is not for everyone at all. Your story is a story of healing down to the cellular level when you are introducing to the sacred life force, the bloodline. When you are introducing to the sacred life force a poison like a heroin or an opioid, these types of things, you need a very powerful ancestral spiritual medicine to come in and purge your physical and emotional and spiritual body. So there are other plant medicines like psilocybin and other things that work in the places where the intellect is afraid or unable to go. This is what you're trying to block the intellect so that you can go into, unrestrict the places of the subconscious, to tear down the wall. That is the second phase, I would say, outside of something as powerful as the medicine that you spoke about. It is important because we lack the ability in a very congested society where we are being poised and poisoned with politics and thought and self-hatred and belief and this cosmetic and that religion, all of these things that have poisoned our mind. And the deception is that the mind and the body are connected to the consciousness. So once we lay down this temporal expression of self, and we would like to step into the higher collective conscious of our eternal, is when psilocybin and ayahuasca and other medicines are necessary, because it tears down the structures of society.
Yes. Oh, I love this. And
I want to come in for one quick second, then turn back over to Trish because she's got great questions. Trish gives good question. Piper, thank you. And thank you, everybody. I mean, there's so much wisdom here. And I want to remind people that are watching on Facebook, because I'm seeing there's a lot of comments. Come on into the Zoom room, because there's a lot of links that we can't put in all the different Facebook groups and pages. We're going out to 100 different ones, so I can't track it all. But if you come into our Zoom room, there's so many links that Trish and Piper and everybody are putting in, and we're going to be putting more in. So if this is grabbing your attention and you're wanting this information, I really strongly encourage you. Also, just a reminder that this is recorded and you can find it on our YouTube channel tomorrow. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. It'll be on YouTube, well, maybe tomorrow, certainly the day after. And then you can, share it with friends, because there's just so much information that you're providing. I have a thought and then a question, and then back to Trish. the thought is that let's not get lost in the recreational use of these. And look, I've done that. I've been there. One of the most important things that happened to me was when I was 16 and I took LSD for the first time and I woke up. It was amazing. It was when I remembered who I was. I remembered the meaning of life. It couldn't have been a more powerful, positive experience. And for the most part, I used most of my psychedelics in sacred ways, in nature, with somebody special. And I have to admit that I had one particular relationship, love relationship, where we fell into the habit of using psychedelics for recreational use and paid the price for it. And so I personally experienced that. And I've definitely watched many, many, many friends or other people go down that hill. So it feels good. The pleasure center of the brain remembers how good it feels, right? But let's not do that. That being said, and since I mentioned LSD, and although it's a plant medicine show, I am curious about, and maybe this is a question for Eostar or for Piper, about microdosing of LSD. Obviously, that's not a plant, it's a synthetic, but I'd love to kind of get some feedback from you on that. And then Trish after that, or Trish too.
I want to say something I think is really important.
Yeah.
Every speaker thus far has talked about using even a microdose in high integrity, and integrity of the tradition, integrity and respect of the land, integrity and respect of your own psyche and the people around you. Like, this is high integrity, especially what Piper said. And I have lots of respect for not abusing these very specifically, sacredly personal and touching substances, but also like little gods, they're that's what they are. They're integrity. Use those things within an integrity. And if you're, again, I know that I'm not going to say this and wrap it up very politely, eloquently anyway, is that having a sitter is incredibly important, especially if you're first starting out. Not everyone is going to be like you being able to use these kind of substances. This is, again, why Stan Grof created holotropic breathwork, and there's other types of breathwork to get you to altered states of consciousness, which are also very helpful. Again, to not abuse the substance and not to check out. You used check out, I think, or something like that, to not to disconnect from what is real in your life and your body, but to actually stay with it and to walk with what is real here. Okay, now go ahead.
Very important. Thank you, Trish. Thank you.
Nice.
Microdosing of LSD. Yes, tell us about that.
See, Scott, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Would you mind describing that evolution for you, where you said you went from honoring the medicine to using it recreational and having it become more of a habit or something that you don't view positively? Could you describe
I will, and you need to pull back when you're that close, when you're biking and underwater.
Okay, so I'll ask again. So could you please describe?
I did get the question. I got the question. Okay. And it's a great question. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, when I first took LSD and I woke up, it was an amazing experience, and it led me pretty quickly to, fortunately, I was very influenced by Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, who's very anti-drug. So that helped to balance things out. And around that age, I was, of course, kind of waking up and becoming me and exploring different spiritual things. And I also had a very active life professionally. In my 30s, I think the transition came in, honestly, because of a relationship that I had with someone who had a very addictive personality. And I didn't even know what an addictive personality was at the time. And she turned out, after we broke up, we learned that she was bipolar. She got diagnosed. So I was with a bipolar person who had an addictive personality. And the drug of choice was ecstasy. And so, of course, that became, when we were on ecstasy, it was always wonderful. But when we were off ecstasy, I was usually okay because I didn't have an addictive personality and I'm stable. I'm a very stable personality. But she was up, down because of the bipolar. And so when it got really hard, it became not just recreational, but the solution became, oh, let's take E, because then we're always better when we're on E. And this was in my 30s. I'm 67 now, so this is quite a while back. But it taught me a big lesson, and it led to, in my external world, terrible things, bankruptcy, and a lot of, I paid the price. So I've personally experienced that, and I have empathy, and I work many of my clients with addiction, and I always start with not judging it. I understand that pleasure memory, like, that famous line, the heroin addict is always chasing that first high. We are addicted to vanilla ice cream, Haagen-Dazs, at the end of the day because it tastes good. And we have the memory of it tasting good, or we have the memory of it relieving stress or making us whatever we're attached to, whether it's something as horrible as cocaine or something as simple as Haagen-Dazs. Our attachment, our compulsion is fueled by the memory of pleasure. So I always acknowledge that, but then we have to find other strategies to meet the need. Go ahead, Jeannie.
So I have a question. It's pretty well known that ecstasy and ketamine are addictive. It's less well known that the true hallucinogens, LSD, psilocybin, DMT, ibogaine, are addictive. And I'm just curious if anybody in this room here can attest to that, or that they do see addiction to the classic psychedelics.
Well, I'll tell you a major distinction that I'm hearing here. Psilocybin and ayahuasca are completely non-addictive. There has never been a study of any aspect it actually leaves the body after it has gone through the body to purge the body, open up the tissues where memories are locked. You've been discussing a lot of other psychedelics that are actually chemicals. These are not plant medicines. So you were talking about qualities that are not a natural part of the makeup of the body. They change the neurotransmissions, the pathways in the brain. These are LSD, ecstasy, these other drugs, which are considered drugs. Anything that has to be made in a lab where chemicals have to be added are not a natural plant medicine from the earth mother and father.
So I'd just like to point out to everybody, as I'm sure we know, that opioid addiction, which is the pandemic of our world right now, is a plant-based medicine.
Well, everything is plant-based. Every single medicine in the world almost is plant-based.
Not everything. This is an area that I've studied extensively, but I just keep it in mind that just because it's from the Mother Earth, as you say, doesn't mean that it doesn't have toxicity or addictive.
Absolutely. To it. I agree. What I'm saying is if you have to transition it from the way that it grows naturally, then you are moving into something different. A 5,000-year-old fungi that you can pick directly out of the earth, devour, and have a healing property, body, mind, spirit, is very different than an opioid, because you're not taking all of the properties of opiate directly out of the earth for ingestion. You have to do lots of other things to it. So it doesn't have the same natural quality. It is a gift of the intellect more than it is solely a gift from God.
Well,
Jeannie,
I guess,
Jeannie, we still need to work on your voice. It's really scratchy, hard to hear.
Okay, I'll probably
even when you're back. Even when you're back, it's.
I'll go change. So you guys continue on. I'll go change my setup.
Okay.
So
Thank you so much.
I have something to add here. is I think there seems to be a lot of concern about is microdosing addictive possibly? Can we get used to taking microdoses and then not be able to get off of them? And the answer is, let's look at the testimonials from people. And thankfully, we have some psychologists who have been studying this practice of microdosing. One of the most prominent psychologists, professors who has studied microdosing is Dr. James Fadiman. And he has a website, microdosingpsychedelics.com, where for years he asked people to microdose a certain amount of psychedelic on a certain protocol and then send in their testimonial. And so based on that, he was able to come up with some general ideas. Again, this is not a double-blind study. We don't have double-blind studies on microdosing yet, but we have psychologists who have studied people's testimonials on their reaction on microdosing. Now, what is microdosing is a good question. And according to Dr. James Fadiman, it's a 10th or a 20th of a regular dose of a psychedelic. So it's a very small amount. And this is a very important issue here. People can take a sub-perceptual amount of a psychedelic, which means that they wouldn't notice it at all and still benefit from it, or they can take a perceptual amount, which would be a little bit over that limit. So maybe they would feel it a little bit, but just barely. So this is very important that we are not talking about large doses or even medium doses. These are very, very, very small doses. And so based on the testimonial of people, we can say that, no, this practice is not addictive. And a lot of people are microdosing with LSD, I think simply because it's very accessible, it's very simple, they don't have reactions to it in their body, they don't get nauseous from it. Like some people get nauseous from psilocybin, rarely, but it can happen. LSD is kind of easy for people, and they have great results. And I'm not even sure if we have discussed the benefits of microdosing yet in this show, which would be important to look at. But yes, a lot of people are reporting testimonials about how they got off of certain substances. They got off of bad habits, not just substances, but also lifestyle habits. And what's more, what they are reporting is that it wasn't their willpower that was helping them to get off of these bad habits or bad substances, but they were naturally drawn to the healthier lifestyle choices. And I just love that. I'm just really excited about the existence of a practice that is available to people where they wouldn't be relying on their willpower, because let's face it, a lot of people don't have very strong willpower. Or maybe they have willpower, but they are also struggling in their life so much that they just can't get off of these habits and substances. And here's a little pill they can take. Hopefully they find a coach who can help them to find that right protocol, that certain days on, certain days off. Hopefully they find the right way of microdosing, although I don't think there are really bad ways, but coaching, I think, can help. So people can really naturally be drawn to the higher vibrational frequency habits and substances. I think it's a vibrational lift, if you want my opinion. And I think it's just like a little vibrational.
We haven't heard from Elizabeth for a little bit, and I'm loving what everybody has to say. This is you're each powerful, 5 amazing women, including Trish in there. sharing their wisdom.
Thank you.
Elizabeth,
I hope
what
you
do you
can
want to
hear
add?
me. Right. Yeah, thank you. Am I coming through okay?
Yes, you are.
Okay, good. I hope so. I love this conversation, and with so much reverence for these medicines that are not technically addictive. I mean, they're not technically addictive. However, I do see attachments, and I see sometimes people in the fad of microdosing popping these sacred medicines without tuning into the spirits and without tuning into the permission from our own soul and the spirit we're working with. And I see there's two reasons why people come to work with a medicine or a substance that alters consciousness, including plant medicines. And I see a lot of different things in the psychedelic renaissance. And that is, one reason is to face life. The other is to run from life. One is to face the truth. The other one is to distract ourselves from truth. One is to face love. The other is to scurry away from love. You know, it's about facing or running, facing, engaging in the present moment. People love to run from the present moment with, you know, the phone or like the microdosing, like those can be abused. And when they do that, in my understanding, it can be spiritually dangerous when we are running from this house, when we are not fully inhabiting the house that we have been gifted by Creator. To other people's or other things' agendas. If we don't make an intention, something else or someone else will. So,
Yes.
yeah. So I just wanted to add that to look at our reason and to be having respect in our hearts for the spirits that we are taking into our bodies.
We're coming.
Can I be in love with you? Are we allowed to say I'm in love with you?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. I had to just say it. I'm in love with you. Because you're absolutely right. And I just want to jump through. I want to first steal your husband's art, and then I want to jump you into my arms, because microdosing, if you're going to be microdosing on a consistent, there does have to be a purpose that, like Trish says, has integrity, also is spiritually based, but also has its medicinal necessity. The people that I work with sexual trauma survivors, human trafficking, severe domestic violence, eating disorders. These are things upon which the thoughts, the memories, trauma can continuously shut the window and door, because the thoughts and the memories will return people, even in their tissues, back to that place of trauma. How PTSD works. Microdosing is brilliant in that it allows the window to maintain fresh air, to be open, because what it does is it closes the intellect, closes the thought, disallows. So it's almost like paving a new road in the brain. If trauma has taken you on this crooked path all of your life, then every time you awaken, you're driving down that same road. The beautiful thing about some of these medicines, and if they're used in the right and proper way, then that road can get paved over, and a new road, which creates a new purpose, a new destiny. You can go through that karmic road into that dharmic door. And thank you for speaking that, because it's absolutely true. It matters who the person is, what the situation is, and how you step into accessing, utilizing, respecting, and honoring the medicine that you are taking in. That medicine needs to be prayed over and blessed. It is a spirit. It is an ancestor. It is an energy. It's not something that you go to, oh, Benny on the corner has some plant medicine for me to take. You don't know who Benny is. You don't know where it came from. You don't know what aspect of God has been, ushered into the spiritual vibration and frequency of that medicine.
Mhm.
But once, if you do it carefully, logically, specifically, you can work with very serious psychoanalysis, very serious traumatic issues, and really heal that human being.
Mhm. Basi, I just want to speak to what you just said, Piper. Thank you so much. I'm in love with you too. I'm just so feeling your innate intelligence that you carry in your spirit. Thank you so much. And this framework is so important. If someone is willing to be confronted with themselves, if someone is willing to be excited about challenge, this framework is so much, and until someone gets to that point where they're really ready, that can be difficult, right? So the willingness to come into this, and these medicines contain so much that's possible. And I think in the West, we also suffer from a consumer customer mindset, that this is a substance I can buy, which is actually priceless gift from nature. But I bought it, I paid for it, I can pop it, I don't have to think about it, and it's going to give me what I want. And if it doesn't, I'll be mad. No, students, devotees, and to listen. And I just want to mention one of my favorite ways to work with medicine. When I pray with my medicine, that well, it's not my medicine; it's its own medicine that comes to me. To choose the number 3 is very sacred in the Bhuiti. To have 3 words, 3 bare bones medicine words to sit with, and then to study and revisit those words at noon and at night. And the medicine will give me the attention that I give it. It's not enough to take the pill, right? So humbly offering that.
I'd love to share a little of my personal journey for a moment. So just because it's up in the show, is that lots of early childhood neglect and some violence, stemming from lots of things for them, followed by a couple of deep, tragic sexual R words, and some, which there's a lot of challenge in my life that has left me in a lot of cases with the opportunity to take antidepressants. I don't like antidepressants. I don't like the way that it feels in my body. And what I have found after trial and error, that as much as I want to microdose with mushrooms, I can't quite access the exact dose to not get blitzed. I don't want to be blitzed. I want to be able to consciously choose to, and I'm going to call it defilter whatever the filter of fear that comes on because of the way that my body is now created protection. That do you understand what I mean by that kind of trauma? It's like a filter. It's like it's like having a weird kind of fabric over your eyes that you can't see, and everything's a different color. And you're like, I know it's not this color, but I can't seem to figure out how to get out of it. And instead of taking the psychedelics, or instead of taking the antidepressants, that there's an opportunity to take something else. And so the 1 drop, here's my microdosing schedule: 1 drop of LSD in a half gallon of water, where maybe monthly I take a teaspoon of that water to just, and it's like, oh, the filter's gone and I'm myself again. Oh, and I'm not afraid. So which changes the way that I relate to everybody else, and the way that my work lands in the world even, right? It changes the color of every space without having this feeling of checking out of my life. I'm like, oh, more life, please. More of what I already have, right?
In fact, now I realize that's why you're back on the show. You were gone for a few months, And now I know that's why you're back.
Well, it is kind of why I was back. So
Yeah. I mean, it's a joke and also kind of serious.
well, I was very sick since August, very, very sick. And a lot of that had to, like, I'm still sick, but I'm also not, I was very afraid. And I was very afraid to share, and I was very afraid to have anyone hold me.
Mm.
One day I was like, oh my God, I'm not doing well. I do have a tool, a really sweet, loving tool that helps me find strength and courage in the most fearful places, or gives me access to capacity.
Mm.
I want to be with life.
Mm.
Not afraid of it. And yeah, that is why I'm here.
We love you, Trish. We love you very much. It's great to have you back. Yeah. I want to read a few comments that have come in, because we usually are very interactive with our audience. We've got so many great presenters. I'm going to start by appreciating Dorina. Somebody asked for a list of potential benefits of microdosing, and also different, and she put in a really, something she found that she put up in our chat box. And again, everybody, the chat box is a great place to go and get these links and such. I just put in the bios and links for all four of our presenters. I also want to acknowledge Bonnie. She's one of our regulars. And she wrote very vulnerably about the horror that she and her husband went through when their 13-year-old son became addicted to LSD, and the nightmare of that. And definitely want to, and that's why we're saying do not use this for recreational purpose. Do it with a guide, do it wisely. And I especially just can only imagine the horror of a mother or father having to deal with their children that are addicted. And I've, as a coach, worked with dozens of families where that's the case. And that might actually be a good call to go to you, Piper, because again, so much of your work, in fact, this is what initially inspired me to bring you onto the show, although I now realize it was so that you and Elizabeth could start your love affair. No, seriously, I'd love to hear more about, for anybody out there, because we have a lot of parents watching. So the flip side of it, for those parents, those people who have a friend or a family member that's fallen into addiction.
I think first, it's difficult to move forward until we first have embraced Trish, her vulnerability. We are grateful that you survived. I think probably more women than you know just on this show right now understand the difficult fire, the darkness, the shadow, the giving up of life, the inability to breathe, to trust that comes from rape, sexual trauma and abuse, which is why the Mother Aya, Mother Earth, Pachamama Gaia, and every plant form and animal form has called you into safety. And I hope that you know that all of us here today, obviously Scott, who clearly loves you dearly, that you now have a lot of sisters under the red tent together with you to support you. You're never alone. You have all of us. To the parents that are dealing, oh my gosh, how many people can I fall in love with today? I love it. To the parents that are suffering, my heart, I have to tell you, there is no pain more significant than that of a parent when their child is in travail, in pain, in trauma, addicted, suicidal, or has left this earth. Thank you for being strong enough as well to come and be a spiritual vessel and support for your children. I had my own traumatic experience, which led me to actual plant medicine and spiritual healing. My children were abducted, stolen from their preschool when they were 3 and 5, and I lost them for 8 years, both of my daughters. it's a different type of woe than what you're experiencing and expressing as you're watching your children or your child give way to a substance that's transforming his mind, body, spirit. And I know you have a fear of losing him, but I understand what it is to have such a bated breath moment to moment, where just to breathe, death would have been easier than taking another breath in that level of trauma and pain that I experienced during that 8-year window of time. And I also understand because we know parents whose children died from the opioid crisis. So what I would say to you as mother, father, absolutely, it is imperative that you listen and really truly listen to the distinction between plant medicine healing. As you heard, there are medicines that can heal your child from extreme addiction. This was the first thing that was spoken on this show. There are spiritual means. There are natural ways upon which that body can be detoxed. Most importantly, I think, is for you to not only heal yourselves emotionally and spiritually so that you can step into the void for your child, but also to utilize some aspects of true plant medicine in order to get to the root cause of the pain of why your child is choosing something that is taking him in and out of reality to the point where his mental capacity and physical capacity is transforming. He stepped into addiction. Stay with him, pray with him, always be present, don't give up, have the courage to walk into the fire with him, have the courage to stay the course, and do as much research as you can to locate the proper modality of healing and transformation for all of you as a family. And know that you have this global tribe, this love tribe, and all of us to be able to reach out at any time for whatever ways we can assist. Scott, I think, puts our information up on the board. I'm also a therapist. If you'd like to reach out to me, I would love to be present there for you, your family, just to communicate through the intimate details of what it is that you are dealing with and your son's journey to where he is today. That's what I would.
We're already, gosh, only 20 minutes away from the end of the show, so it might be a good time for me to start introducing some of the websites. So Piper, since you just mentioned it, here is Piper's website. I've put it, of course, into the chat box, but for those of you who are watching on Facebook or on YouTube or on Conscious Awakening Network, her website is Love Retreats, isloveretreats.com. And Piper, as we're looking at your website here, what do you want me to show?
Well, if you were to scroll up, we have everything. We have a lot of in-depth science to talk to you about all forms of plant medicine, what it means, what it does, how it breaks down the ego, all of the studies on plant medicine so that you can understand what it is. Here, you see where he stopped here. I'll go back the other way, where the self-healing is love. This company was named because it was spoken in my spirit from God, Holy Spirit, ancestors, angels, that everything is love. Every journey, every pain, every struggle, every step we take, every breath, every joy, every laugh, every love made, birthed, and given, everything is love. And so this became a collective place, as you see, for people to come together under the sacred red tent to sow seeds of compassion, wisdom, grace, and spirit, and to birth peace, hope, and love. We use plant medicine retreats, all aspects of plant medicine, not just plant medicine like ayahuasca or psilocybin, but also just the earth. We plant trees, we proliferate bees, we step into the center and come into unification and partnership with other nonprofits. We work in rescuing children from human trafficking. We work with the earth. He is showing me something because I believe that everything that God's ever created on the earth is medicine. So plant medicine comes in every form, from aromatherapy to what you put inside of your body. And so we do retreats from human trafficking groups to individually working with couples, to individually working with people one-on-one who want to experience plant medicine, heroic journeys, to step into other realms of consciousness, to heal themselves, body, mind, and spirit. And our clothing line is there to provide 100% money back to healing the earth, to paying for resources to help women out of human trafficking, out of domestic violence, and to pay for them to go to healing treatment centers anywhere in the world that they want to go. And right now, our special partnership is with Hope Refuge out of Santa Barbara, where there are over 100 beds. We have young girls there that are rescued directly off of the streets from human trafficking. They stay there for education, psychological and spiritual healing. It becomes a home, and it is a necessity because, as we know, we're all interconnected. Those are our daughters, our sisters, our children being sold and bought on the street. And so that's what our organization does. I'm in partnership with my two partners who are also love angels and shaman. I'm sure they're here today, Lori and Laura. And this is our calling as shaman and as mothers and as survivors in the world. We walk through the fire, I think, in order to reach back and help others. So if I could survive also rape, the loss of my children, these traumas that could break us down, but we're women, so I'm rooted strong as a tree, and I won't give up until the last piece of fruit has fallen from my branch for every girl and woman and child in the earth.
Boom. Thank you, Piper. It's such a blessing to have you
I love
as part
you.
of our Global Peace Tribe. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much.
Mm.
We haven't heard from Jeannie for a bit, and I think I see that she's back. And so hopefully we're going to have Jeannie 2.0.
Can you hear me?
Hear you.
Can you hear me fine now?
Oh, yay. Thank you so much.
Yay. Well, it's just been an absolute pleasure meeting everybody online here and hearing the passion by which they're there to help others. I too am here to help others. I'm doing it on a different scale, though. I believe strongly in that we have to make these medicines accessible to all, and how to bring it forth in an intentional way where we respect the wisdom of the medicine. And I invite the wisdom keepers here on this call in this community to come help create the new paradigm that we hopefully will have the opportunity to create here in California. So please keep posted. We've launched this initiative. It's called Treat California. Our website is having, Mercury is interfering with it right now. So it's the Be Heard Foundation. And there we are. It's HERD. We are a herd of elephants. We're a matriarchal society. We believe women will save, actually. The Dalai Lama said a number of years ago that Western women will save the world. And I think it's time for us women leaders to come and set a new example of how to take care of one another. So in this initiative that you're seeing on our website, we are addressing a multitude of problems which fall under the umbrella of mental health, addiction, and pain. And you can take a look there, and please keep posted. We're looking for petitioners to help sign. We need to collect 1.1 million signatures at a specific time, and have them verified and validated in the state of California to qualify for the ballot. And then you'll be hearing about a pretty robust social media educational platform where we're going to be changing the narrative around mental health, addiction, and pain. Finally, bringing it to the communities and really talk about it instead of it's being shoved under the carpet as it's been for decades and decades and decades. And then hopefully you'll all be able to vote for us in November 5th, 2024, where a yes vote will create a $5 billion funding agency, which again, I invite all of you to come to the table to help us set the agenda and programs of which we plan to work on. So I'll leave it at that and say thank you very much.
Jeannie, a couple of quick questions. How do people reach you if they want to help canvas or they want to help? How do they reach you?
Yes, please. Right now, go on the website and you'll see you can sign up on the website. And very shortly, I guess really because of Mercury, we have a new site that's which will direct to this. It's called Treat California. And Treat is an acronym. for treatments, research, education, access, and therapies. So just go up there, sign up, and then we'll send you information and how you can help. I appreciate all. This is a grassroots movement. We invite everybody to come to the table and help. It takes all of us to affect this kind of change at this level.
Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And certainly between now and November of 2024, we will have you on multiple shows so you can bang the drum and hopefully get some support. I'm imagining that some of our Global Peace Tribers might really relate to what you're doing. And
would need it and need the wisdom keeper of all that I've heard tonight to come to the table to share that perspective, because so often it gets lost in the Western medical, medicalization, and really setting intention to embrace the wisdom and bring that forth to a new medical paradigm.
Thank you so much, Jeannie, for what you're doing. And thank you for getting the sound. Now we get to have the complete Jeannie Fontana experience.
Thank you. Okay.
Star, I'm bringing you back up because we haven't had a chance to hear from you in a little while. But I definitely want to, again, any final thoughts you'd like to share? And I'm also, of course, going to go to your website.
Well, I just think that it would be wonderful if people could contact me if they are interested in microdosing, because I do lead a weekly Zoom call, and my intention is to lead people to the right way of microdosing and really educate people and hold their hands a little bit as they start with the process or as they go through the process, so that they would really milk the experience and really benefit the most possible amount from microdosing. And the best way to reach me actually is my phone number. So I don't know, Scott, if you can show that little promo that I put together with my phone number. I prefer Gmail, not reading my emails when people want to know about psychedelics. So
I will. I'll pull that up in a moment. I've actually got your website here. So
yes, my website is eostar.net. I don't know if the email sign up thingy works on it. So, but you can reach me at eostar.kamala@gmail.com. That's my email. And in this website, eostar.net, you can find out about my ceremonial sacred music. You can find out about healing modalities that I'm offering, and you can find out a little bit more about me. If people are interested in sacred plant medicine retreats, let me know. I would love to hear from you.
I have pulled it up, so I had your website first, but here is, and I'll keep it up for a moment. So for the watching on Facebook or on our other broadcast partners, Eostar, she spells it EOSTAR, Eostar. There's her phone number and there's her website. And I haven't participated in any of her plant medicine microdosing work, although I'm very intrigued and I think I will join you for some. Just do it on a night that I'm not doing the Awakening World, please. But I have experienced her amazing sound healing journeys and her music. And Eostar is someone who does everything with a lot of love and integrity. She has very high integrity. So I can personally vouch for her. I've known her for, I think, at least 10 years. I think
more than that, yeah.
So we go back, and she's a wonderful, wonderful soul. So I think, and she's right here in the Bay Area, and a good portion of our viewers are in the Bay Area. So they might be interested in attending one of your events.
Yes, we have events ongoing. I have a newsletter that I send out. So again, if people want to reach me, either the phone or the email, eostar.kamala@gmail.com. I'm not sure if the sign-up sheet works on my website right now at this moment. So it's best to direct message me, or you can find me on Facebook as Eostar Kamala. And I'd love to hear from you all.
And last thing we'll mention is, again, she does do this weekly call every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Pacific time. That's 10 o'clock for our friends on the East Coast, 9 o'clock for Kiki and all of our friends on Central Time. And that, again, if you're wanting more information, obviously there is so much more to talk about, and we only touched on a little bit here. So that's a good way to get more information. And certainly we will. This is such an important topic. I'm imagining, Trish, that we should do a follow-up on this one. Well, I'm going to bring Elizabeth back up. And again, Elizabeth, see what you created? This all started with me finding a way to put you on the show. And I so appreciate your wisdom and love to hear any final thoughts. And then, of course, we'll go to your website.
Sure. Oh, juicy. I am so honored to interface with your consciousness, all of you. Piper, Elstar, Trish, Jeannie, Scott, Omashar, what a beautiful group of shining stars. I love the work that everyone is doing. Beautiful, important work, because everyone is important in this whole collective learning journey. So thank you so much. And thank you to all the people who are here. Thank you, Bonnie, for the update about your son. Isn't it cool when we beg God for the words, huh? Instead of trying to come up with our own, come up with them with our own intellect. So great. I love hearing that. What a gift. And yes, soulcentro.com is where you can find us. Exactly, clicking the information button. We'll have a new site up very soon, loaded with beautiful expressions about our relationship to the medicine and videos. This is our temporary retreat page that's up in our space there in Costa Rica, where we are so blessed and privileged to carry this beautiful ancestral medicine and hold a very beautiful altar here. And I want to honor everyone with the wounds, who shared your wounds. The wounds have the potential to bring us to the medicine. Every wound can be, after being fully felt and excavated, can be initiation. To know who we are, on the deepest levels. And thank you, Jeannie, for mentioning the elephants and the matriarchs. The elephants are so sacred to Iboga. There's nature and earth. They're magnificent, wise beings that fondle the bones of their ancestors and take their young ones on these long pilgrimages. I'm just so in awe of them. I'm such a groupie of the elephants. And to offer anyone out there on a microdosing path, the last little gem I want to share on my heart is study nature. Microdose with reverence and respect in your heart, because wow, they can kick you in the ass too if we're not paying attention and teach us who they are, but with reverence in our heart, go out and see how much you can learn from a river. All the things and about balance and what kind of river we want to be. Do we want to be the white water? Or we want to be the wide, calm, flowing river reflecting the sunlight. Study the animals, study the elements, study the sun and that big ball of burning love and all of these spirits that are teachers, because we're never alone. We are surrounded by magnificent teachers. Every being, and it's when we stop paying attention that we feel alone and we feel lost. So remembering all of our relatives out there, and we're here in Costa Rica, we see, profound journeys when people are ready to face themselves. Profound is the such a deep cleanse, a spiritual and physical and psychological cleanse, and it's such an honor to watch the rose garden. Thank you so much.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I'm going to bring Trish back up for us to. Trish, what are your final thoughts that you'd like to share?
Just like to thank all of our speakers, our guests tonight, the audience that's listening for showing up and following the path of the conversation, and also opening your heart and your mind to really allowing yourself to take in the wisdom of the plants that were shared through the vibrations of our voice. Again, reach out to any of these people if you have questions or concerns, and even just on the erring on the side of caution and protection and reverence and integrity, to talk about plant medicine.
Beautiful, thank you. Well, let's conclude with Omashar. Definitely, Omashar, the mushroom in your mushroom temple there.
It's my mushroom temple. I tell you, I'm hungry just looking at myself. So thank you all for a profound evening. It's really profound. I'm not going to say any words to mess it up. I'm just going to sing a song called Sweet Water, and it's also subtitled The Tear That Lost Fear of the Ocean. And so let's go.
Wait, what happened?
Nothing happened.
Oh, I can't hear you.
I've
You
lost
can hear me now.
sound. This is Ivy, and I've lost sound as well.
You can hear me.
Barely.
Yes, but we're not here. We can barely hear you, and we can't hear any music.
Well, that's because no music's playing. Here we go.
It's just it's a real, I can have, okay, good, here we go.
Eleanor, you rock. When flowers grow, dripping with dew, and rivers flow in sapphire blue, I certainly know what a fall God I knew. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. And when autumn sun kisses my cheek, whilst cool winds come from mountains peak, with poems on my tongue and no wish to speak, I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. Sweet water, when I give you my heart, I already start to feel better. My sweet water, won't you send me your love forever and ever and ever, forever and ever and ever. Oh, when tender hands trace memories where powdered sands meet temperate seas, I don't understand, but I love mysteries. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. And when grieving hearts are no longer down, and evening stars, they shine all around, and things that were lost, that's where true hope's found. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. In sweet water, when I give you my heart, I already start to feel better. Oh, sweet water, won't you send me your love forever and ever and ever? In sweet water, when I give you my heart, I already start to feel better. My sweet water, won't you send me your love forever and ever and ever? I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean.
What a wonderful song. Let's all twinkle and just all these little tears that we are losing our fear as we enter the ocean of love through Omashar's musical wisdom. That's beautiful.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. My
I'm gonna-
heart is always so filled.
Oh,
And it's beautiful to top it off, not top it off, pat it out. I don't know what the words are, but to complete it with some music helps us integrate, helps me integrate. Thank you.
absolutely. I love that song. I love play it every time. It's beautiful.
Very nice.
I want to remind people, gosh, I almost forgot to do the announcements. Saturday night, we've got a great show, as always. I love Louisa Stowe, and she has worked really hard with her team of creating these 6 global agreements. And we're going to really talk about each one of these agreements. What would it be like to live these in our life? It's really a vision for an awakened world. This is the awakening world. We're in the process of awakening through all the different things we hear on the show, but what would an awakened world look like? And that's what we're going to be sharing with them on Saturday night. Great music as well, of course, with Elma Shar, Bethany Grace, and Larissa herself. And then everybody, please join us on Sunday. We're going to do something I've never done in 2.5 years of this show, of doing shows, 500 shows. I've never done this. Drum roll, please. Notice no photos, no presenters. It's you. I want us to have a quality conversation with each other and to really talk about shows you'd like to see in the future, plans for our retreats. We are going to move forward with a retreat in Los Angeles the last week of March. Omashar will be there playing live. Kristen Hoffman is going to be with us. It's going to be pretty special. And I really want to get your input, your feedback. So join us on Sunday morning, 10 o'clock Pacific time, 12 noon Kiki time. That's also Central time. And 1 o'clock East Coast time. I guess East Coast will be Karen Eisenberg. She'll be our East Coast representative. So join us. Let's talk. Let's share. Also, I'm going to kick off on Sunday periodically Sacred Sunday Show and Tell. We want to learn more about you. What are the things you do, services you provide? My gosh, if any of you are providing services, I want to make sure we're buying from you and not from Walmart. So we're going to start sharing services more often. I see I got a twinkle from Trish on that. So that's what we got planned this week. Thank you, everybody. Hope to see you on Saturday and Sunday. Thank you for all the messages in the chat box. Lots of love, and we'll see you. Have a wonderful few days, and we'll see you on Saturday night. Take care, everybody.
Bye.